Hello, everybody. It's Friday. It's midday, which means one thing and one thing only. It means Stephen's away. No, that's not what it means. It means it's Wow Ergonomics. He is away though. Again today. Hi, Steve. And Steve's not actually been feeling that well this week. Oh, so you can all send flowers and chocolates and anything else that you like, and I'll pass them on. I might just eat them. Not the flowers, the chocolates. But don't worry, we are here, both of us, today to inform you and keep you entertained at the same time. And I'm today joined by a very special guest, Ajay. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Graham. Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for having me on.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. So listen, we were introduced to each other recently by someone else that's been on the show, which is Dan Williams, who
We were,
runs
yeah.
Visualized Training and Consultancy. And I think, actually, having seen you face to face this morning as well, I think I have met you in person before, a long while ago when I was up in Worcester, because previously you worked in Worcester. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, I used to work for a assistive technology company, Dolphin Computer Access, for many years actually. So our paths have probably, definitely crossed somewhere along the line. Yeah.
So we want to talk to you today about what it is that you do, and I think it's a really interesting area as well. And if you're a manager out there today, maybe in health and safety within the building, or wellness, well-being within the building, if you're a purchaser as well for equipment for people to do with well-being, this is a show that you won't want to miss, because a lot of people out there have probably heard of assistive technology, but probably haven't heard about some of the assistive technology that you train on. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm completely blind. So, the assistive technology that I use on a daily basis is screen readers and screen magnifiers. I've used it since I was growing up. And, realizing the power of assistive technology on how at one stage of my life I weren't able to read books that I wanted to read, or getting the sports scores. Whereas when I was introduced to assistive technology, when it became a bit more mainstream, I had all this information at my fingertips, and it allowed me basically to be successful at university and then in employment. So the importance of assistive technology, especially for people who have got sight loss, because trying to navigate a screen when you have any sort of visual difficulty is so difficult. So having technology out there that can allow you to do that, it's just a great enabler. But yeah, I come across a lot of people, especially in my previous work, who have lost their sight recently, and they just have no idea, and especially employers, that these sorts of things exist.
So just in case people want to use your services, just give them an idea. Where are you based?
So I'm based in Worcester, and I offer training nationwide. So that can be face to face, or it can be via remote.
Right. Oh, you can do remote training as well. How does that work with visually impaired accessible training? How does that work?
It does have its challenges, admittedly, because a lot of sort of assistive technology, especially with screen readers and magnifiers, you have to learn different hotkeys and shortcut keys. So it really depends on your proficiency in using a computer, whether it's going to be suitable. But if you are reasonably proficient, just a simple standard Teams or Zoom call can, we can do it on that. But I do like predominantly face to face, because I just find that hands-on approach a lot nicer, really, a lot more personable.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. I used to do assistive technology training myself, and I always prefer doing those lessons in person. Part of it is that not only do you not only can you see that person's screen, but you can also see what else is going on around them a little bit else, if you know what I mean. You can also get a feel for, whether they're like an organized person or whether they're a disorganized person, just in terms of how long it takes you to get to the desk over the room. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. But even little things like if you realize actually a lot of the time they're picking the phone up with their right hand and they're starting to type with, the left hand, you can think, well, actually, if that's what you're going to do, we can maybe put a hotkey in there. That's just utilizing your left hand. That's going to make it easier for something to quickly read out for you. And it's those little bits of nuggets of information you're not going to pick up when you're training remotely. So definitely, yeah, face to face, is definitely preferable.
So nationwide training, etc., on software. Tell us about some of the softwares that you do training on.
Yeah, so again, predominantly it's software, for people with sight loss. So screen readers commonly like things like JAWS, Dolphin Screen Reader, Guide Connect, not as common, NVDA. Sometimes people, just want to use something like Narrator, which is built into Windows, or VoiceOver on the Mac. And then you move into your magnification software, so Zoom Text, Fusion, Supernova Magnifier. So there's a whole array of different softwares, but they're predominantly the main ones. But even on mobile devices as well, so things like TalkBack or Zoom or VoiceOver. So I even incorporate them as well.
Now, it might be worth pointing out to people at this juncture that, I did some training on things like Magic and the Zoom technologies myself. And those kind of technologies are probably useful to a wide market, aren't they? Not just people that have got, any kind of visual impairment, because particularly I now wear glasses. I didn't when I was in my 40s, and now in my 50s I wear glasses. But anybody, as we get older, we may actually struggle with various bits and pieces on the screen as well. So it's really, and as we get an older workforce as well, there may be a lot of people out there that actually may need some kind of magnification.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not even just the magnification. I mean, there's a lot of people who have, because you can set it to different levels, so 1.2 times or 1.3, and a lot of people just need it at 1.2. A lot of people have magnification software where they don't even turn the magnification on. All they will do is maybe just change the color contrast to stop the glare because it hurts their eyes. So you don't have to be visually impaired if you're just struggling with a bit of glare, some color blindness, that sort of thing. Magnification software can really, really help you.
Yeah. Explain to people screen reading software now, but I'm guessing that a lot of people will have some experience of what a screen reader is like because they've at some point accidentally put on the accessibility mode on their phone and then wondered how on earth they're going to turn it off. Right, I bet you could actually make money out of telling people how to turn that accessibility on a mobile phone off, because it's a struggle for a lot of people.
Back in the day, I used to run around the Apple shops. Now, this is before their technicians were wired to VoiceOver. It was in the very early days, and they didn't really know that it existed. So I used to go and turn it on, and they used to run around and try to turn it off, and they were just struggling. It was quite funny to watch them.
It is quite complicated sometimes if you don't know. Once you've got sort of an accessibility mode on things like a phone. But if people they've come across it, once you turn that kind of mode on, it means that the phone's actually giving you prompts, isn't it, about what's actually going on.
Yeah, so if we look at a mobile phone as an example, once you turn it on, whatever you then touch on the screen on your finger, it will read out what's underneath your finger. What normally happens, especially on touch screens, as soon as you touch something, when obviously there's no assistive technology running on it, it will activate or go into that app. So as a sighted person, if you've accidentally turned this on and you're touching things on the screen, you'll just hear it read out and it's not going to be going in. And you're thinking, I'm pressing this. Why is it not going into my settings? Why is it not activating? But it's because it adds this like layered mode on. Because if you can't see, or you struggle with sight loss, you're not sure what you're pressing. You want to hear what it's saying, and then once you know you're on the right thing, you would then double tap the screen, and that's how to activate it. And again, that translates really into screen readers on computers as well. How you use your computer is completely different to how you'd use it as a sighted person. I mean, I'll give you an example. So, for example, on the internet. I remember, when I sometimes used to ring technical support companies ask for help for certain things, they'd say, okay, well, can you click on the link on the left-hand side of this website? And as a blind user or a screen reader user, you have no concept of where things are laid out because you actually navigate the page just with your up and down arrow keys. So in my head, the page is just laid out as if I'm reading a Microsoft Word document. So it starts at the top. You have links going from the top to the bottom, not left to right. So how you use that particular, application is completely different than what you would if there was no screen reader running. But having said that, what Apple are really good at, because they've got like touch screens on the Mac and your phones, and there's certain modes, you can actually get a visual representation of how things look, especially with a touch screen. So it was only really with the advent of touch screens and voiceover that I was like, oh, I didn't really even realize that you have links going from left to right on the web page. Your common like home and about and that sort of thing. Again, I just had this mental image of everything just being in a linear format, so it was kind of eye-opening, if you're excusing the pun. But yeah, essentially that's how it works.
Have you heard, when you've been in an office, ridiculous things that people have put into place for somebody with sight loss, thinking that it would help?
Yeah, there's been loads of examples where people have contacted me and said, I need sort of a screen magnifier. I'm struggling to see the screen, and they've gave me Dragon, so I can dictate, but I don't have any problem typing. Typing. I have a problem seeing the screen, and it is quite common that employers don't sometimes understand their employee needs, and it can be quite difficult, to be honest, especially if you're not aware of it. And things like Dragon is just very mainstream, and everyone knows about it. So it is quite a nice, easy option and a go-to if someone's struggling. Go, okay, well, let's give you Dragon or something like that, because it's quite popular. But I'm trying to think if there's anything else, any other examples. They're the main ones, I would say. People who need screen readers or screen magnifiers, and they're getting dictation software, and that's very common.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you find there's sort of like I mean, with a number of sight conditions, the sight gets lost gradually, doesn't it, as well? So do you find that it's difficult for a number of people to get the adjustments early enough, because actually they in themselves don't think that they perhaps need to be moving towards learning something like JAWS earlier on, and then they try and make do, but then eventually they do need to use JAWS, and at the point where they do need to use something like that, they perhaps wish that they'd perhaps started sooner?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, actually, touching on that, that's sometimes what happens in terms of when someone has a slight visual impairment, they just get given a screen reader straight away. And again, it's just a complete new learning curve, and that's not what they need. So in that scenario where you've just got a little bit of sight loss and it might gradually deteriorate, what you really want is something that has both speech and magnification built in, where they can start off with just magnification. You can turn all the speech features off. So programs such as Fusion are really good for that, or Supernova magnified screen reader. So you can just adjust the settings accordingly. And again, for education or workplaces that have different people who may have varying levels of sight to use the same computer, it's really useful. So you can, for example, have it at magnification when you think, well, actually, that's now, or when your eyes get a bit tired at the end of the day, you think I need a little bit of speech just to supplement my reading. You can set it so it just, when you click on something, it'll read out that particular email for you. When your eyes start deteriorating more, you can either increase the magnification or start relying on the speech. And it's a great transition when you do it that way, because you gradually introduce the speech, you gradually learn the hotkeys and learn how to navigate the screen with a screen reader whilst using the magnification at the same time. And because you can see the screen, you still got that visual representation of what you're doing. So when I'm tabbing, where's it going? Why am I tabbing? In my experience, I think it's very difficult for someone who's completely blind, trying to learn a screen reader, because it's just of that image that you've got, mental image of how the screen's laid out, because that's what you've got to come to grips with as well, is how it's laid out. So why am I pressing tab on this button? Why am I pressing the down arrow on this menu or tabbing in this menu? And just getting to terms with doing different navigational techniques in different dialog boxes and menus.
We ought to point out at this point, because I used to have a guitarist friend when I was at university from Manchester, and he used to refer to tabbing all the time, which was actually smoking. But that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, I thought that was a Geordie thing, to be fair.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. So that's
Yeah.
using the tab key to navigate across the screen, isn't it? From
Yeah, and that the tab key is generally you'll find it just above your caps lock key. So yeah, you press the tab key, and that generally moves you from one element of the screen to the next, so from one button to the next, or one link to the next. So that's one technique of navigating around the screen with a screen reader. And you don't even need a screen reader to utilize it. So everyone can give it a go. If you're in a menu or something, if you press the tab key, it will get you to the next bit, so you don't have to use the mouse. And actually, I'm a firm believer, even if sighted people learn a lot of these shortcuts, because a lot of them aren't exclusive to screen readers. They're built into Windows, they're built into Macs. They could actually get tasks done quickly because the power of hotkeys, it just helps you do things a lot quicker.
Yeah. Oh, I'm pretty certain that most people don't even realize that hotkeys exist within applications, and yet actually, if you can learn those hotkeys, as you say, the amount of time you're kind of navigating, going in circles around the screen with a mouse, and then trying to open up menus and get to this, where you could go straight to wherever you want to with a hotkey press, and that's it. What a great way
that's
to
it.
be more productive.
A lot of people know the control P is print, but control N, the new message, or control R to reply, or even control enter or alt S to send a message. How many times are people writing a message and then having, like you said, scrolling up to find the send button, a simple half a second press, and there the message is gone. And there's so many examples of that in countless of applications, whether it's Excel, browsing the internet, or databases. It's just it's vast, and yeah, I think people could really benefit by just knowing a few more rather than control P.
Yeah, no, definitely. Now, listen, you also do stuff with people's phones. We mentioned it a bit earlier that you were a bit naughty about that in Apple shops, but in now you're putting that to good use. So you are doing stuff with people's phones as well, because predominantly most people, that's what they use these things day in, day out these days. So what sort of stuff are you helping people with their phones?
Yeah, so again, it'll be things like introducing them to magnification on their screen. A lot of the time, for people with new sight loss, they didn't really need it magnified. Again, with mobile phones, same as computers, you can just change little settings, change the screen brightness, change the contrast, make the buttons or the icons just a little bit bigger. And even in Windows as well, you can do so many things like that. Just make the fonts bigger before you even move into magnification. So predominantly start out with that, and when it progresses where they need something more, then introduce them to something like magnification. Teach them then again with the phones. Once you've got magnification on your phone, the whole gestures are different. So instead of, for example, moving around the screen with one finger and scrolling, you're now using 3 fingers. So it's just teaching them how to use that. Also with the speech side of things, so talk back or voiceover, all those gestures are completely different. So teaching them how to navigate using the speech, and actually listening to the speech as well, because I think it's quite important. People miss out that when you touch something on a phone and it's speaking to you, at the end of it, you can set it so it tells you what to do on that particular, control. So it might say double tap to activate. And a lot of people by that time have switched off and they get confused. What do I do now? When it's just sort of saying, actually, if you just sort of listen to the entirety of the message, it'll try to guide you through what to do. And what I also do as well is not just teach people that, how to use the screen reading side of it or the magnification on your phone, but how to apply that with the apps that you want to use. So if you want to be using emails or WhatsApp or your online banking, showing them how to use it in those particular apps. and giving them skills, and they can apply that to other apps. So not just that particular app that they want to use. So if they find a new app they want to download, they've already got the skills to navigate around the screen and work out how that app works.
Are there more applications of AI being used within this sector as well? Are you seeing like more applications using voice in order to access information? The machine is learning from behaviors and therefore reducing the amount of friction to get to the end use, or is that just not happening yet?
Not on a wide level. I mean, Apple are really good at things with Siri, where if you want to send a message or an email, it'll give you suggestions of the most common ones you've used. But I would say in apps that are made for people who are maybe visually impaired, things like Be My Eyes or Microsoft Seeing AI. So they're apps to help you take pictures of things. The AI in that, they've really incorporated it really well, and that is moving quite quick. So previously, as an example, if I took a picture of a graph, it might say this is a picture of a graph. Now it'd say this is a picture of a graph. I could then ask it a question. Okay, can you tell me, what's the average spend of my electricity for this month? Because let's say, for example, I knew that was on the graph. It would come and it would ask me that. So it'd tell me that even. So you can ask it more specific questions, or a bank statement. You can ask it, what was my spends on this date, and it will come back with the answer. So certainly in the apps designed for people who are visually impaired, they are starting to move really quickly on the AI side of things, and it's actually fascinating. And I'm really excited to see where it's going to go even further. But even things like photos, I think that's really useful as well. So I can now take a photo, and natively built into Apple, it'll tell you that there's a picture of two kids. Whereas with AI, you can then ask it a follow-up question using, like, for example, Be My Eyes, and say, what facial expression has the kid, this kid's got, what color top is he wearing? And it answers those questions, and you can really get a deep understanding of what a photo is. And previously, especially as a blind person, just photos weren't a thing. I weren't interested in photos because it just had no use for me. Whereas now I'm actually interested in what people are posting online, what photos they are in. And the way people say, oh, they're sick of people posting their dinner on Facebook. Actually, I kind of like looking at what information I can get and go, oh, they've had chips for dinner. I wonder if they've burnt it or not, and ask the AI if it's well cooked and that thing, just to test its power. But it's coming on.
Dan Williams does awareness training in terms of visual impairment, etc. Is it something that you feel that more organisations should do, so that they actually understand what the experience is like for someone with a visual impairment within their organisation, and maybe or one of their stakeholders, and maybe start to understand what they need to do proactively in order to be more inclusive, full stop?
Yeah, 100%. It's not just about getting the software in place, even getting them trained on it, and then just saying, okay, that's it. That's all we need to do. There's a whole host of other things that employers, I think, in my opinion, sort of need to look at. Things like when you're, going to conferences or meetings, making sure that, the person knows who's in the meeting, or things like if new people start, or if you walk past in the corridor, rather than just saying hello, it's such and such. Because if you're a new starter as a VI person, with any varying level of sight, really, you might not know or recognize that person, or recognize the voice, or the facial features. So those sort of personal touches are really important. I've worked at sight loss charities where they'll still hand you, printed material or handwritten notes, and
What?
and that sight loss charities, and you're thinking, well, this person is visually impaired, and you still giving them handwriting stuff, or asking them to sign in on a manual sign-in book. So it's really just about looking at the whole organization holistically, and just seeing what things can we adapt, what things can we change, how we can just make it better. Not just about, oh, well, they've got the software and that's it. That's all we need to do. We've ticked a box.
Yeah, no, that's so important. I was going to ask you as well, when you go, bringing it kind of back to something that we talk about all of the time on this show, which is obviously sort of ergonomics and posture and things like that as well. When you go into organizations, is the impact evident of a visual impairment in terms of somebody's posture, etc.? Are a lot of adjustments that are made in terms of the working environment not necessarily right for somebody with a visual impairment? You know, are you seeing like people adopting poorer postures because of the loss of sight?
100%, because instantly you're going to lean forward to get closer to the screen. It could, it could be like a keyboard in front of you and then a screen in front of that, whereas actually you'd be better off with maybe a desk where your keyboard can be underneath so you can pull the monitor closer. Yeah, that's quite common where people are overstretching and leaning forward. And actually, it's happened to me. I myself leaning forward, not really to see the screen, maybe just to hear my speakers better in a noisy office environment. And I'd done that for years and just ended up with a really, really bad back. And it was only, once I went to the doctors and stuff and they looked at the posture and realized what I was doing. And then obviously I had to get that sorted. So, even from a personal point of view, I've done it myself without realizing. One of the things I used to do is I used to take a lot of phone calls, and I didn't like wearing headphones, so it was my own fault really, because I liked to hear what was going on in the office around me, because obviously I can't see. So when you take the hearing away and you've got headphones on, it's a bit difficult. So I used to answer the calls and I used to trap my headset between my shoulder and my neck, and then use my hands were then free to still type as I was talking. And if you're doing that 8 hours a day, it does start giving you back and shoulder problems. So, and that the only reason I done that was because I'm blind, and I didn't want to wear a headset because I needed to hear. So people with a visual impairment, they are going to face those extra challenges with posture. That definitely needs to be looked at as well. Yeah.
One last thing that I want to talk about is that some people, some organizations will look at somebody that's got a visual impairment and then start to panic especially if it's something that's come on during the time that they're at that organization, and think, actually, can this person do what I want them to do anymore? But actually, I have seen some amazing skills, absolutely amazing skills from people with visual impairments. And one of them in particular is speed of typing. I have seen people listen to audio and type that audio, maybe even using like a braille writer, etc., at incredible speeds. Can we just talk about that briefly? What are some of the superpowers, if you like, of people with visual impairments that actually organizations should really be looking out for as skill sets?
Well, I think as a visually impaired person, we're naturally problem solvers anyway, because we've got to do that on a daily basis. When you're walking around, if you have poor vision, you're using all your senses. You're using your hearing, you're using your touch, so you know what's underneath your feet, the texture of the surface. You're doing that all subconsciously, in real time. So we can use those skills and transfer them into employment. So, like you said, typing really quick. I used to type, listen to a customer, listen to conversations around me in the office. One hand on the braille display, the other hand on the keyboard, flicking back and forth, and then also listen to my screen reader as well. So you're hearing all those bits of information, yet you can still filter out information you need, information you don't need, information what the customer's saying, and you're doing that all in real time. And if you really break that down, that is a lot of things that are going on all at once. Yet people who are visually impaired are doing that day in, day out. And in employment, or if they're not, they can apply to employment. And they're just really, really valuable skills that any organization could benefit from, because they're really powerful.
Well, there you go. It's real food for thought, I think, for a lot of people today. Hopefully, if you've been listening to this today, you're in management, maybe you're in HR, you might be in health and safety, etc. And you've perhaps known a little bit about visual impairment adjustments, etc., but not a lot. I hope you've learned a lot more today. And if you want to find out more, how do people get hold of you?
So you can email me info@aatsolutions.uk, or visit the website and fill in the contact form, which is www.aatsolutions.uk, or you can give me a call on 07572 990 597.
You'll be inundated now. That's it for you now. You'll be.
It was one thing I wanted to say, but I wasn't sure if it'd be relevant because it is more football related. But on your question about the skills and stuff. So obviously I used to play blind football at Paralympian level. And we got our games recorded for the first time. And I watched it back. And all I could hear was the coaches shouting and swearing at me and all this loads of noise from the crowd and different aspects. And I thought to myself, I don't remember hearing any of that while I was playing. And it made me realize that what I must have been doing is my brain was hearing that, but it filtered out all the unnecessary noise. Because in my head, the only thing I could hear was the ball and the opposing player coming at me and my teammates who were asking for the ball, or who I wanted to pass to. But yet, when I watched it back, everyone was shouting. And I just realized that what I was doing, or what we all do as footballers, is we're filtering out all the unnecessary information. So keep barking instructions that we don't need. We're filtering that out, and we're only concentrating on the ball that's at our feet, or the ball we're going for, the player we're chasing, or the person that we want to pass to. And it was just fascinating to like realize all that work your brain's doing, and you don't even realize it. And actually, it really made me realize as well that it's not just a fitness thing, especially at football, where it's mental fatigue. And I think that was really important with, when we were training and stuff, that we weren't just like everyone else, just trained to be fit so we could be ready and keep up running wise and what have you. But mentally, that takes a massive toll during a game. So just by keeping yourself fit, it kept your mind sharp as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally understand that. I just wish that the England football team got themselves a bit more mentally fit when it comes to taking penalties. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I think they need
it. Folks, thank you so much, Ajay, for coming on today. Thanks for stepping in at the last minute as well. And hopefully you found that interesting today. If you have, then please do share this with other people as well. Please do get in touch and find out more. That's what this program is all about. We'll be back same time, same place next week, midday on the Friday. And until then, thanks for watching Wow Ergonomics. You can catch up on previous episodes at wowergonomics.com.